Get this going right, good. North Woodby Parks and Rec District is meeting called to order by the chair at 6:32. We have 2 items on the agenda and only 2 items we will discuss
You're talking
tonight.
about who's present? Sorry.
Thank you very much, I will. But we have 2 items on the agenda, only 2 items will be discussed tonight. Okay, all are present except for Commissioner Shingleton at this time. First thing is the pool schedule.
Right.
Pool schedule, real quick. I put that on the I put that on the agenda because at the end of February is when the current schedule ends, and I didn't want to sit there and wait until our last meeting and our last Thursday meeting to sit there and discuss it. So, Kaz, if you don't mind,
Okay, so I've got Erica with me tonight for both of them. The schedule, since she's the aquatics and programs director, the schedule really impacts her, so she has the most influence on it here. And she's also she's the historical knowledge of some of the things in the budget here, although I anticipate doing probably 90% of the voice over here. And she's got her hand in my back. So the schedule as it is a 6-month on, 6-month off schedule. What we're doing is coming to you with we want to go to a school year schedule because it makes more sense for what we do. And then a summer schedule. So we'll go Labor Day to the last day of school, and then the first Monday after school to the Friday before Labor Day will be the summer schedule. So it's about 11 weeks, 11 weeks, I think, depending on when school gets out and all. And the thing on here, there are no real significant modifications to what's in here. There are some tweaks in here which actually increase lap swim time actually increases about 2 to 2.5 hours or so a week. And open swim gets a little bit more, not that much more a week. And private lessons get a little bit more, and then they're pigeonholed into some more places there. The one thing on here that we are doing is the weekend schedules for both sessions, meaning what we're going to call the school year and the summer schedule, are the same. It's the same. It doesn't matter what weekend of the month, of the year that you come, it's the same schedule. So the weekends are the same year-round. There are no changes to it. I mean, with the new way it's on here. It might look different because of the formatting that this was done in. We need to get something that formats this a little bit better, but the schedules are the same for the weekends. So that won't matter. So we had last day of school, then weekend is always the same. Monday, summer, first day on this year will be the 19th, I think, or 20th, or whatever that Monday is. Kick over to the new schedule there. So I mean, that's really the gist of it. There are, again, these small tweaks in some of the times to based on what the staff and I have observed in the 3 months I've been here, and they've been observing since they've been here through the whole time. So it's really fairly straightforward. No. Yes, sir.
Okay, real quick, before anything is said, Commissioner Shingleton is present now. I want to start that end of the table first.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Having the weekends the same throughout the year, I'm just elated to see that. You know, the number one thing I've heard throughout the community is the schedule's so confusing, we don't know when we can swim. And then looking at the summer schedule, and I know that for technical reasons that probably can't be done throughout the school year, but having the open swim just the same straight across the bottom of the board, I'm very excited to see that, and I hope that the public hope they put their money where their mouth is and show up like they said they would.
We hope so too.
So that's all I got on it.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions. When NWAC Masters or Oak Harbor High School team are here by themselves, is the pool open? Do we have a cashier out front? Do we have to pay lifeguards?
No.
Okay, so In light of that, and in the fact that we have a budget deficit. Go ahead.
Can I go back on that one?
Yes.
In the morning, during the day when the masters are here at noon to 1 or 1:15, I have guards here because the wading pool is still open and lap swim is still
Right, and
available. So guards are here. If people are in the water, they're on deck.
So I'm going to make some suggestions in light of the $49,000 budget deficit we have and possibly the worsening budget deficit next year, and looking to decrease pool wages. I would propose the director and his staff develop a pool schedule that has more revenue generating hours relative to the full-time staffing hours. Have the pool closed during combined Masters, NWAC, and Oak Harbor School swim team practice hours. Use the coaches and aquatic director, if necessary, as lifeguards during these swim teams' practice hours. Saving the overhead of front desk and lifeguard wages during these closed combined hours. But you have 2 lifeguards in the front desk, that's probably $40 with salary and wait and $40 an hour with salary and the payroll taxes. And that's 2 hours in the morning. So my proposal would be things like, and again, you guys, rather than opening at 6 o'clock, open at 8 o'clock for lap swims, have NWAC and Masters have their combined, and Oak Harbor High School, they can come in anytime they want, I would assume. And as long as they're operating with the coaches, and that would, we could save $300 or $400 a week just on those 6 hours or 12 hours, because we're currently opening at 5:30 or 6 for lap swim, combined with NWAC. And I gotta think I don't know how many people are coming in, but we probably are not generating $40 worth of revenue from 6 to 8 per hour.
Commissioner, real quick, this is just a proposal, not a motion, correct?
Right, yeah. It's
Okay.
a proposal. I think we're gonna have to look to the future about somehow decreasing costs or decreasing overhead, or in a couple of years, maybe we can get more money from the levy, but, I mean, that's my,
Hold on just a sec, let me let Commissioner Singleton, I'm trying to go across where we all speak.
I missed that part. Okay.
Where I didn't put that out, but where we all sit there and get a chance to speak and we don't jump on each other and stuff like that.
Jump on anything.
No, you didn't. But I'm just trying to explain.
I object. No, I'm
Well,
just kidding.
I'm just trying to explain why I'm kind of doing it this
No,
way.
absolutely. Okay. That's fine. Is it always my
Please.
turn? So I'm not sure if this was mentioned before, but I'm concerned that we added this to a meeting. So first of all, and I apologize if this is readdressing something, but,
That's fine.
But I am concerned that we added this to a meeting that we said had its own meat and needed to be its own separate meeting, which is why we scheduled a special meeting. So that's number one. I understand that it expires, and that's why last year, a number of times, we said if you want to present us with the pool schedule a month ahead of time, we'd be glad to take a look at it, and then we'll review it, and then we'll discuss it, and then we can have time to readdress it. If that's already been said, I apologize.
That's fine.
But I feel like it's important because this is the first opportunity I'm having to look at it, and I feel like and perhaps this is me, and I'm misunderstanding something, but I feel like I'm being pressured into voting on something right now that I am not comfortable voting on. So I'm going to say that. So that lets you know where I sit with it, because I feel like it takes some time to review, to understand if any changes were made or if not, and why. To just address, Commissioner Fort, while this does not address the morning, so I just some, let's call it a little tiny bit of historical background, because it only goes back about 6 or 8 months. But historically, when NWAC has had the pool, they have had the entire pool. And one thing that we did ask, as the board.
front desk
Just a-
personnel?
Let her go and finish.
Yeah, well, it's just, we had asked that, and I think it's probably more relevant to the afternoon, but we had asked that in order to potentially generate more revenue, that we have those two open. Here's what we don't know. That was a proof of concept. Is it working? Is it not working? Because some people in this community are very ingrained I can't go between this time and this time. Even if they wanted to, I can't. Does that mean that one is the right way or the other? Do I think that 5:30 in the morning we have that problem where someone really wants a kid to go in the wading pool? Probably not, right? Or in the hot tub. But the paradigm shift, if you will, and I know it's a really old term, but that we were trying to create in the afternoon is if people wanted to use the other facilities that and therefore generate additional revenue, that we wanted to give that a try. So I don't know, it doesn't necessarily change or address anything that you said directly. I just wanted to make sure that you were and everyone here was aware of it. Is it working? Is it not working? I don't know the answer to that. You know, and what are we doing to promote it? I have absolutely no idea. But we were hoping that it would be an opportunity for us to gain additional revenue.
Real quick.
But is it enough revenue to pay for the lifeguards and the front desk?
Just a sec, real quick, please. Do you have an answer for, is it generating any kind of revenue, or how's it working out?
I'll let Erica, who's got more historical.
Yeah, I work with this schedule every single day, day in and day out. That afternoon when we are having that baby pool or the wading pool, whatever the heck you want to call it, the hot tub and sauna, open during the NWAC hours. At first, hardly anybody. It's starting to catch on. So we are getting people coming in. It's needing a little bit more of the promotion, but we have done a lot of promotion the last couple of weeks. You guys will hear that at the regular meeting when you guys have that at the end of the month. We also have now taken one lifeguard off on some of the shifts, which is substantially cutting down on the payroll. We are using me to do a lot of the lunch breaks instead of other lifeguards, instead of having a second lifeguard there. We're paring back as much as we possibly can. To answer the let's start lap swim later question, we get most of our military guys who are signing in on our sheet coming in between, they would start at 5:30 if we would let them. They're here at 6 o'clock and they're usually out by about 7:30. They are here, I've come in at 6 o'clock in the morning and the lanes are full from, at about 6:30. So taking that away would, I believe, take away a lot of revenue. We only have one lifeguard on at that time. So again, it is not, I think we would lose a lot more by taking that away than we would by leaving it where it's at. Now, I don't know if that answers your question, but the tweaks to these have been minor. One of the things that you will notice on the new school year is that during the NWAC and OHHS time in the afternoon until 4 o'clock, we did add in programs. We are going to be, until the swim team builds up, using lane time to run private lessons. We are inundated with private lessons. We have stacks and stacks coming in every single week. We are going to be using time during that time slot between 2:45 and 4 o'clock to be teaching the private lessons. We have people that are signing up for that time slot. We've talked to Coach about it. That's cool with him. And so that is one of the other places where we are going to need to have a lifeguard out, because not every single one of our instructors is lifeguard qualified. Those who are may teach private lessons without a lifeguard on deck if nothing else is going on in the water. However, if we have lap swimmers or we have somebody in the wading pool, and I have a person over here who's wanting to teach swimming lessons, we need to have a guard on deck to be safe. Coach is safety training for swim coaches qualified, which is the minimum certification that is required by USA Swim. He is not a lifeguard. He is not Red Cross lifeguard qualified, which is why we can't theoretically use Coach as a lifeguard. However, he can watch the pool temporarily while a guard runs and goes to the bathroom, for a quick potty break. But USA Swim does not require every coach to be lifeguard qualified. They require USA's training for swim coaches or a lifeguarding certification. So we do have to be careful when we say we're going to ask Coach to be the lifeguard. He can back up a lifeguard if one of the lifeguards needs to make a rescue, which allows me to take a lifeguard off deck during certain times and save money that way. He cannot act as the sole lifeguard. And there we do have to be really careful to put ourselves in a situation that Coach might not know exactly what to do if an emergency of a non-swim team nature arose. So I think that is a lot of what was thought through when we put this schedule together. Is we have to try and put as much as we can into the pool that we have. And as I said before, we work with this thing every single day. You know, the staff here, we sit down and we say, well, this program isn't going. When we go back to do the schedule, maybe we need to take it out or we need to promote it more and see what happens. If it doesn't go, we don't use it. Or if it's trickling, we take a staff member off. For example, when I have a slow swim lesson, like I do in the mornings, I don't put every single one of my instructors on there that signs up. And we do what we can to make sure that we're saving as much payroll as we possibly can. But we need to make sure that we're safe and that we're doing it. And while I understand the board's desire and indeed our desire to continue to cut back where we absolutely can, to use me for lunch breaks and to those things where I can go take a little bit more of the pressure off of the budget, absolutely we're doing that. I mean, I've sat through more than 1 or 2 lunch breaks, you know, recently, today as a matter of fact. So I have no problem doing that. Using me to train do some of the training instead of our other instructors. Yes, absolutely. So now that I'm not trying to ride 2 horses, I'm able to do more of that. But I think we need to be real careful about taking things away. Just to say.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I just add something to that?
Go ahead.
One, no one on the board would say be unsafe in any way.
No.
No one would say that. So, I mean, just, I think we're all clear on that one.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be sure that we were crystal clear on that. No intent to be unsafe. But what may be helpful at some point, and yes, I am looking at you, ED Kaz, but is truly if we have any numbers that help us understand, for things we want to change, good or bad, right? I mean, it's, for example, the changes that we made in the afternoon, it sounds like the expectation is that, hey, it's catching on, people are going to be there. No, I don't think any of us expect that every day someone's out there counting heads, but at some point to kind of go, how are we doing, or how are we doing from the front desk? Some amount, and yes, I love this, some amount of data that helps us understand, was that a good decision or not? Because I think we all want to make better decisions based on the decisions that we make. If we find out it's a bad decision, nobody wants to keep doing it, right? I mean, as an example, that's just one example to say, hey, you know what? We've had this many people, we're breaking even, we're almost breaking even, or we're not even close to breaking even. And so that we can understand how to help support that, because if it's just if it's only turning out to be an employment expense, we don't want that. If we think, or hey, let's give it this much time, and let's give it this much time to catch on, because again, it's been this way for, I'm just going to say years and years. I don't know how many, but it's been this way in the afternoon. This much time, let's give people a chance, and we're willing to kind of stick our necks out there a little bit, but then we have to decide when to say it either yay, it's a success, or no, it's not working. I don't know. Sorry, thank you.
Commissioner Holly.
And I think the early morning lap swim was well defended by Eric, and but I wanted to put in a note. When I was on active duty, that was when I worked out, and I just want to defend the military lap swimmers' ability to lap swim, because I mean, if they don't need to come here, they're not going to. And I would say probably most of our military clients come and do the open swim, but the other big chunk of that would be the lap swimmers who need to do it for PT. And so, I would defend that early morning lap swim for them. I don't get up that early, so I don't need to do it anymore, because now I'm active duty.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawthorne?
Yeah, I think I would concur with Commissioner Donna Sue Holly. I think it's imperative to keep that open. And when you talk about losing revenue, immediately, my heart kind of sunk a little, because I thought more. So say it was $300 a week. Say it was $300 a week of lost revenue by closing that lap swim. It's not just $300. That's 100 lost people. That's 100 votes on an M&O that switches. That's really 200 votes, and that's all any of our levies have ever passed by. And so, in an effort to save $100 maybe, we're risking 5 million over the life of 6 years or something, for instance. That scares the heck out of me. Over 7. So that scares the heck out of me. Second of all, I think we just hired a new executive director, and I think this is a schedule that he's apparently very confident in. And there will be performance evaluations, and I personally feel that we owe it to the new director to put forward his schedules, and I'm actually confident in him that they will work, and that's all I have to say on it.
Commissioner Ford?
Yeah, so 2 things. I mean, the morning thing was not the only one. I mean, thought you could look at combining masters with NWAC and Oak Harbor swim times, moving those together in the afternoon, so that what would happen is, if you could combine those so that NWAC wasn't taking up 3 lanes during certain times and allowing 3 lanes for, maybe we could have the whole pool open, we could generate more revenue during those hours when the pool's open and we're paying full staff to be here, as opposed to, I think we're going to have to look eventually, we're $49,000 we're talking about tonight. Without a pool, there's going to be no aquatics program. And if we can't have deficit spending forever. I'm trying to ask people to give more money in the future levy is going to be a complex problem. There's only 3 ways to balance the budget: increase revenue, decrease overhead, or increase the levy. So we really need to think in an open mind and creative way about trying to balance the budget. I'm done.
Mr. Singleton?
I'm good. I don't have anything additional, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Can I answer what Commissioner Ford?
Please do.
That we did, and I like the idea of, asking masters maybe to come in during NWAC time. We have tried that in the past. It didn't work. We don't pay Coach any extra to be here at noon than we do at 2:45 since he is a salaried employee. So at least, we're not, and we're probably not going to gain many more lap swimmers than we have at that time, because we do usually end up with some sparsity toward the noon time frame. People come in very briefly and then they take off. What we are wanting to do during that 2:45 to 4 o'clock time with NWAC is, instead of putting masters in there, to put something that we know is going to use that, and that is our private lesson program. We have multiple stacks of private lesson requests, and I know that we have people that are going to use this. It's a done deal. As soon as the high school is finished, we have private lessons that are moving into that, and that is going to generate the revenue coming out of it, because it's not just 2 or 3. There's several that are coming in. And I think that, as we're probably going to take up as many lanes as we can and not get in the way of the program that's already running, to do something that does generate revenue during that time. The master's program, they have tried it at that time historically. It was several years ago. It didn't work. They lost team like crazy. That's why they went back to the lunch hour, and that was because a lot of the people do work, and so that they would come over for their practice on their lunch hour. Another thing that Steve and I talk about weekly is, he's going to do quarterly budget with you guys, so you're able to see how we're tracking. And with that will come program. If a program isn't working, even if there's nothing saying that we can't go back and say, this program right here isn't generating any revenue. We're going to go ahead and cut that. He can do that, and we can put something else in there that works. I mean, it's a constant. We work, like I said, we work with this schedule every single day. We take stuff out, we put stuff in. If a private lesson isn't working, would a lesson work? If the private lesson isn't working here, the school group lesson would work here. So we do that daily. We can't fit it all on the schedule, one piece of paper. But I know that from the aquatic director position, working with a director who's able to do that, and I can sit down and say, we're not making any money on this, what can we do here instead? It makes it much easier for us as a staff to pick this up on the fly and say, we gotta do that right there. And that's one of the reasons that we brought this schedule to you guys, is so we're able to look at this and we're able to make the adjustments if we need to. Well, as he needs to. He tells me what to do.
Any further questions from anybody?
Nope.
Can we just vote on the new school year budget tonight and not vote on the rest of it? So give
Schedule.
us time to look at that?
However the motion's made.
Schedule.
Yeah, the new school, yeah, the part that just starts in March, because I know that's pressing.
Yeah.
And then spend some more time talking about
The
it.
summer one, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we did change in the summer is I moved the morning lap swim a little bit later. I tried to keep the swim lessons and the aerobics not together. I can't teach when I have somebody's music in my ear. Kids can't hear.
Commissioner Hoffman,
I have a motion, if that's okay with everybody.
please.
I motion that we approve of the provided schedules through September 4th.
For both?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, all the way through September 4th.
Is there a second? Okay, since there are no second, motion dies.
I propose that we approve the new school year budget effective March 1 through June 19th.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the budget for
Schedule.
To schedule.
the schedule, thank you,
Thank you.
for the new school year from March 1st through June 19th, 2016. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we need to do a roll call vote since there is, it's not a unanimous vote. Commissioner Hawley,
Aye.
Commissioner Shingleton,
Nay.
Commissioner Fort,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoffmeyer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, the next that we're gonna sit there and vote, discuss,
Can you hold on for a second, please?
yes.
Sorry, I just.
No, that's
Give me a
fine.
moment, please.
I have one thing in regards to this and myself, if this is
Hold it.
okay,
Yeah.
ma'am.
You can give her a sec to get caught up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner
All
Hoffmeyer.
right, so if you'll remember the motion that I made in the previous meeting to switch our schedule, or to switch this meeting to tonight.
Okay,
I felt that it was very important for the two commissioners from the previous, that had been through the whole 2015 budget to be here. I knew I had a scheduling conflict tonight, but I wasn't worried about that. I need to try to get out of here as close to 7:30 as possible.
okay.
So, just putting that out there. So if I run, it's nothing you guys did.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the budget? I know there is. Executive Director, if you could please give us some info.
All right, so this is a recap of how 2015 ended. So, for me, it's hard to know where to start on this, since I was only here for about 6 weeks of it. But I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to try to, I think I've got a pretty decent analysis of it. We started off with a projected revenue of just over $957,000. We actually only got about $935,000. I'm rounding here, so the numbers are exact on the page there. I'm not trying to. So in essence, we hit a $22,000 shortfall in the revenue projection, according to the P&L, which is about 97, almost 98% of program, or the projected stuff there. When we look at the revenue, the levy that was calculated for it was actually calculated for $599, almost $600,000, came in at $581, so about just almost $19,000 is a shortfall just on the revenue out of the levy on there. And then if you take, and that includes the fact that they overpaid us by 13,000.
That does include that?
Well, I mean, yeah, the 13,000 is in the total received.
Is in the 581 or 599?
That's in the 581.
So at the beginning of the year, did they tell us this is what you're gonna get paid, and they were wrong, and they figured it out sometime during the, I don't
Yes,
remember that.
in essence, I boil it down, in essence, yes.
Okay.
They used the wrong calculus in there. So, right there, you could look at that. I mean, that leaves, right, actually only about $3,500 of revenue that you didn't make against target when you take out that 18,000. But that's not the whole story there. The projected expenses were just about 940,000 for the year, and the anticipation was that there would be about a 17,000 margin whenever this was all done and everything. Well, that didn't happen. There were actual expenses were up around 985,000 almost, and that left what you guys see is almost a 49,000 deficit, 48 something, 48.9,
956.
whatever the number is in there. So there are some key contributors here. We've gone back and I've looked at a lot of these things here, and then I'm going to tell you what I think the key contributors are, and then of course I'll entertain questions on it. First and foremost is the insurance. The insurance is about $30,000 more than was budgeted for because Endurus left, wouldn't insure us. To get another company that would insure us jacked us from about 51 to 81 or somewhere, but roughly $30,000, rounding maybe by margin, but it's not $29,000, $30,000. You take that out of it right there, that's two-thirds. That's two-thirds of the shortfall right there. The other significant piece that came in, we didn't anticipate the election bill coming in until this quarter, sometime about right now. It came in December, due in December. We paid it in December, and that was just over $9,000, so I'll just say 9,000. So there's about 39,000 right there. What?
We actually had anticipated paying 15,000, so we actually had 15. I understand what you're saying, but we had 15,000 budgeted for election expenses. So technically, while it was one versus another, I mean, technically, we were under budget on that item. I understand your point.
Okay. So I'll continue with my point, however erroneous it might be, just to finish my point. Had that been there, it would have been about 80% of the budget of the shortfall or the deficit was covered there. But regardless of that 9,000, we're still talking 65% of the budget in one fell swoop. And I remember sitting in here as the unknown swim dad in the back in August or September before I even applied for the job. And you guys were talking about, oh, there's a 24,000 shortfall. And then the next month there was a $75,000 shortfall. And I was concerned, to say the least. But when I look at only ended up, and that was before the 30,000 thing hit in December, to end up only 49,000, while not good, is certainly not what should have been a progression from 75,000 in September, October to close to probably 90,000 based on the numbers. So I know that a lot of controls were put in. You know, they started really working stuff in there, but your big culprit in this is the insurance. I'll cede the point on the election, but the big culprit is the insurance. When you look at, and I'll answer questions and do that, but when you look at the stuff here and you see that you make 97, 98, almost 98% of the revenue projection, and you blow through the expenses, yep, that's what has to be tight. That's what has to be figured out this year. Is how are we going to keep better control on expenses, do our best to get revenue in, which I know that Erica is working on very hard, and you'll see some of that in the commission reports that are for the meeting in a little over 2 weeks. and Julie from the concession side of it, and also from the special events that she runs. There are a lot of, we're tightening down. We're tightening things down. We have a better idea now of what things actually cost. I spent some time with Commissioner Shingleton before the training last week and sort of ran through the methodology. While I think it's probably about a 98-99% solution, there's still one piece out in the valley that I'm not sure how to figure out yet. But I think we have a number, we have a pretty solid set of numbers upon which to make now decisions going forward on programs and things like that. So instead of vintage, I think now we have data, and really, that's what I would consider to be the synopsis here. I don't like 49,000, almost 50,000 in deficit. I don't. But when you look at one event really did it. The rest is fair to jump on, but when one event takes almost 2/3 of your deficit, and you have to do it, you sort of don't really have a choice, or else we wouldn't be insured, we wouldn't be operating, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight without it. So there's really no, that's the recap, that's the high level recap. I'm more than glad to entertain specific questions. It's the best we can answer them.
Commissioner Hawley?
I do have a question. Actually, several. So I'm looking at the NWAC figures and
Revenue or
both
expense?
together,
Okay.
because there was, on page, the one that you sent us, it was page 3.
It would still be page 3.
Well, I did it the long way, so,
Maybe
but anyway, so it's 20.32, we're in,
Okay, I'm on it.
so 20.32 swim team.
Right,
USA Swim registrations paid to PNS.
right.
We expensed $6,000, but in revenue, we only got less than $4,000 back. Is
Right.
that because we had stuff sitting in the inbox from, okay.
Yeah, from 2014. There
Got
was
it.
about,
Okay.
I don't
So
remember the number.
if we went, yeah.
Mhm.
All right, and then meet fees paid to clubs, $8,000, but only got in revenue less than $6,000. Why is there a almost $2,000 difference? Shouldn't that have all been paid by parents?
Well, when I talked to Julie about that specific thing right there, part of what is evolving is the granularity in this.
Okay.
And so a lot of the granularity, whenever they first were setting up QuickBooks, there were things that got dumped into dues. That went into dues.
All right.
And so,
And other places.
yeah, and maybe a couple of, but dues is what Julie, but Julie said dues was probably the big culprit there. And while she could probably go back and deconstruct it and come up with an answer if that's what we need to do, that's what it was. Before it became more and more granular, it went into dues.
Okay. I would say the answer is yes, because I, for one, do want to see, this is the dues that are being paid, and here, we've expended this amount of money for these and these, and all those things that are supposed to be paid for by the parents. And yes, here's every dollar paid for by the parents and not by the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Okay. Kayak equipment,
Yep.
most of that was the $8,000 where we actually bought the new kayaks, right? Or isn't that what?
Which were you still
It's,
down on that?
I'm sorry,
32?
20.36. So kayak equipment, 8,151. That was $8,000 was when we bought the new kayaks, and then 151 was for the whatever they were. We talked about that. Okay, I just want to be sure. And I had a question about why the election service isn't out. You explained it. The advertising we paid a lot for, and I would be interested to know, and it doesn't have to be tonight, but how much did we pay in advertising for a new director? How much was for the kayak sales? As you know, and then we paid 35, 36 $3,300 plus, almost $4,000 for advertising. And I know big chunks of that, I think, were for the new director and for the kayak sales, and we didn't. But I would be interested to know, otherwise, how much we pay in advertising, and did we think that was worth it? But and because there's 2 lots of advertising, one in 20.42 and one in 20.44. I didn't understand why there was a difference, but. And sorry, I missed this one for some reason. Going back up, 576.20.20 personnel benefits. The employee award program, $20. And I remember talking about this, how we said we need to try and get something that is, get donations, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, did we really only pay $20 in 2015? Because I thought every month we were giving a gift card or whatever, and I thought we had paid for those up until the point someone said, oh my God, we can't do that.
We had a few, I think we had several in the drawer from 2014 gift cards that we had used. We bought one more,
Okay,
and then we had decided to suspend that program
right.
for further review, and that's what happened. But we did have several gift cards in the drawer already going into 15.
Okay.
We ended those up.
And I know here it is. Debt coaches. So page 2, expenses, debt coaches, $5,000. I know it was budgeted at $3,000 because that's what we had expended in by June, and I thought there was supposed to be no other debt coaches. That was like we had this discussion. Was I sitting in a room talking to myself? How did we spend another $1,500 on debt coaches in 2015? Or $1,500, sorry.
We knew that we had, if I can just contribute a little bit, we knew that we had exceeded the number. We still didn't entirely understand how, but we knew that we had exceeded the number, but I did not believe that it was by $2,000.
Or $1,500, because it was,
Well-
we had, I'm sorry, it is 2,000, yeah.
Because we adjusted the budget. Well,
We adjusted it.
Right, we adjusted it to this is what the final number should be, and therefore it's a wash.
Yeah.
We came in above that, which we didn't understand, but I did not recall it being that much.
Yeah,
And I don't,
I'd have to ask them to check.
because we had this discussion, and
remember that we had
every
this
director, every commissioner, as far as I was aware, was like, no more debt coach. We can't afford it. The program is so much in arrears. No more debt coach. Do without. And I thought that was completely understood. And it's like, and you're right. There was like, somebody said, well, somebody hasn't put in their time card, blah, blah, blah. But it couldn't have been $2,000.
There was a time, at least one time card that hadn't come in,
Yes.
and that I do remember. The rest of it, I don't remember why. We can definitely go back and look.
Yeah, because this is something that was specifically discussed. It was forbidden as much as, we do stuff like that, but it's like, I saw that number and I was like, wait a minute, I know it was a lot less than that. And I looked at my June budget to see.
Clocked in under debt coach, she should have clocked in under library. I believe that's part of that as well. I'm not gonna say things today.
Okay, that was all my questions. Thank you.
Commander Singleton.
Okay, so a couple things. One was, and I have asked for this before, I will ask for it again. One of the things that I think would be a great idea is where we believe we have offsetting expenses, to reference in the description, even in parentheses, what the offset is, so between revenue and expenses. It would be a lot easier, because this is a question, whether it's from Commissioner Hawley or anybody else, it comes up constantly. So if we believe this is supposed to offset this, it would make, I think, everyone's lives easier. I know it might be a pain because we also know that some of it has been a little bit of a reset. So we understand why some of them might not offset for 2015, but moving forward, our expectation would be.
Good.
So that's just a suggestion. The one thing on the very last page that either my memory is bad, but I don't think in this case it is. But it makes me concerned. It basically questions the data integrity. Is park development $5,000? I don't believe that we instituted that for 2015. So I'm concerned about if that's mislabeled, or if I don't know what that is. Of course, I would also say that it makes it seem like our budget was larger, potentially larger than it is, or it's mislabeled. But again, I'm just data integrity suspect, and I know everyone works hard, so I certainly think it's either an accident or it's a misnomer. But I'd like to understand what that is, because we did
No, I
budget.
agree,
Yeah, we didn't budget $5,000 for the dog park because we didn't even start talking about it until after you were appointed.
well, as I said, park development, is that the dog park, is it not? I don't know.
Well, we had $5,000 that was put into reserves at some point, and maybe I'm even thinking of that wrong. But that concerns me because, and this is just from a mathematician's perspective, right, wrong, or indifferent. It makes me question everything, and I know that's not fair. But it's kind of the creeping. Okay, well, what else? And it's probably just the description. I'll bet you it is. But I'd like us to be sure that that's fixed moving forward, if in fact, or restated here for 2015 as possible.
There is no park development in the 16 budget. I'm looking at it right now. I don't.
Well, and there wasn't one in the 2015 budget either, but there was money to, I think it was capital improvement, and that might be what this is. But I think we've talked a lot about calling something what it is. And again, I know that there has been great efforts to do that, and they are ongoing. I'm just highlighting the need to continue doing that if in fact that's what this is. So it was like, I don't know what that is. The other, so ideally, and perhaps the rest of the board thinks that I am ridiculous, and that's okay, but, okay.
Keep it up.
Commissioner Hawley accepted. No feedback required right now, thank you. No, but what I would really be hoping to see is that certain things that were, let's call it, I'm going to use the word extremely under budget in the revenue section, or extremely over budget in the expense section, that we would get a little more granularity about what we're doing moving forward to ensure that that doesn't happen again. It's not an indictment on anybody. It's not intended to be a make work exercise to say we're going to punish you and make you explain it now that it's out of, right? I mean, it's out of authority. But it's really more about understanding, and maybe that's not fair. It's what, if I were in a different type of organization, it's the exact thing that I would do and have done in the past. And so I would like to see that if we think that there's something that's a compromise that would give the same result, I'm open to that. Do you understand what I'm asking for, right? Okay. Do you feel like that is a fair expectation?
I think you'll see in the next budget review in April if I answer your question well enough. Because
And I give you so much credit because I understand what you're saying, and from this person's perspective, here's my baggage, friends, is I got told that in 2014 for the 2015 budget. And so I'm not reacting to you or saying that I mistrust you at all. It just, we as a board, and I won't even say that it's due to an employee, we as a board did not uphold that requirement for ourselves. And so that's a fact. And so if you think that we will do that, then I'm going to say, I will trust you.
part of the review will be where things are, not necessarily every line by line item, but the major ones, why they're there at that stage of the game. That is the plan.
And so I would echo some of what I just said in terms of what I would then like to see that would give me a better level of comfort, as opposed to what kind of felt like, for many different reasons, but a roller coaster last year, an expense roller coaster in some cases, is I would certainly like to see, and we can agree on what those limits are, that if something is going to be more than 105% of expense, or 110, or whatever we all agree the numbers are, that we'd like an explanation. Or if it's going to be under in revenue, it's what are we doing about it to ensure that we don't get so far out of whack. Because and I'll bring up only two and then I'll be done. But it's just, to me, this is so near and dear to my heart, and I feel like this is Wendy's little therapy session, sorry about that. But I feel like I trusted some things were gonna happen and they didn't happen, and I wanna be sure that they happen. And that was part of making the decision for you as executive director, so I trust that. I just am, there are some things that were a little bit of runaway trains, and one of them, so there's on the expenses we have some 200s and some 300s. And when you look at the numbers, it's kind of okay, but we never talked about what that, in some cases, we never talked about what that meant. And then we look at, and I'm gonna use this as my golden example, because for me, it's a learning. The kayak lessons, part of why we as a board decided to purchase new kayaks last year was the numbers we were given was this program always makes money, the kayaks are gonna pay for themselves, and they didn't. And you know what? If I could make that decision differently over again, I would make it differently. I will straight up say that. We went with what we were given, but now and so I wonder, gosh, if it's been such a successful program, why didn't we make as much money as we thought we were going to? And so it's like as much as you can go, wow, that's a little line item. Yes, but we spent that much on new kayaks, and we wouldn't have if we had any indicators that it wasn't going to be as successful. So while I realize that none of that demands an answer right now, I think I'm just trying to put it out there for food for thought for the rest of the board and for the executive director in terms of things to think about moving forward. If that, and hopefully that's helpful. It's been somewhat of a torturous process for me. So I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna skip you real quick. Do you have to leave at 7:30 or?
Wind it down, I'm gonna push it as far as I can, but let's stay in line. We'll stay in line.
You're good with it? Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Report?
So I kind of agree with a lot of what the two previous commissioners said. We pointed out there's a $22,000 deficit in the program projected budget this year. I think we're overestimating when we do the budgets how much income we're going to get from programs every year. It seems like, and I've looked back, it seems like we do this fairly consistently. And looking forward to the 2016 budget, we project fees of $395,000. We only got $301,000 this year. Can you see where I think we're going to have a problem, bigger problem next year than we have this year? Because we're overestimating how much we're going to get from programs. That's been mentioned, and we can't do that. We should not project what we think or what we would like to make in a year. We should base it on what we made the last year, and if we make more, great. Then we've got a budget that we don't have to try to correct the deficit. We can spend more money, like on the maintenance and repair issues that have never been addressed in the last many years that I can see, and no reserve budget. I think I don't like the way budget's been done, to tell you the truth. I think it's in trouble. And it's gotten in trouble gradually over the years by misrepresentation. I'm done.
You know, I wasn't here for the 2015 budget, and I know we switched horses midstream several times. I think a lot of what has been said by the board members is fair, and I agree with a fair amount of it. However, you know, I think what's done is done, and I would certainly concede that, you know, we can learn from the histrionics of the past, and you know, looking at the mathematics, and I think this is all useful. But the hay's in the barn. We have a different executive director now, and I guess my question for staff is, what options are we left with other than the budget having been reconciled as spent and to approve of that? And then a question for you, and I think this is on topic and related. Do you feel you can do better next year?
I certainly feel I can do better. I think we've got the steps in place. So
Yeah.
Will I correct everything in 1 year? No, but there'll be corrections, there'll be stuff done. I can't guess and guarantee what's gonna happen tomorrow morning when I wake up. That might go wrong, that throws everything off. But to the things that we can control and have control of, we will keep control of. Will we make mistakes here and there? I'm sure we will, but will we're at a better starting point with the budget for this year than we were last year. Their processes are coming in. These people are probably a little tired of my processes to some extent, but I'm trying to do things that make sense, that grow our programs, to what Commissioner Fort said. I'm trying to do them from both ways. I can't just increase revenue if I don't decrease costs and get them there. Costs have to go, they both have to play together in there. So I'm trying to do what I can to increase the revenue. I'm trying to do what I can to decrease the costs. How that goes, I mean, that's the purpose of me instituting a quarterly review with the commission, is so that on a quarterly basis, we can see where we are. And then for the staff, we will take what our order and adjust as required on the things that we're doing. Can I guarantee anything? No. I can't guarantee a thing because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a big tsunami that might happen.
And I would assume that none of us that expect you to be able to get.
Yeah, I know. What I'm trying to say here is, I have a good staff. I have a great staff of people who work hard. We sit down, we have meetings after meetings after meetings, trying to get my arms around this stuff, help them get their arms around stuff, help free up Erica and Julie to do the thing they're supposed to be doing here, which is growing and managing the programs. We've finished development. We're really close on the numbers on the actual costs of things to operate around here. So now we have more than, like I said earlier, we have more than windage to decide that's what we're going to do. Now, it becomes a decision at that point whether you continue on with something or not. But at least now the decisions can be made more from a data perspective than having I think the sun's going to rise Thursday, but it's going to be foggy type of approach to it. We're working our best. And I'm going to echo Commissioner Fort. This has been going on for years and years and years. And I don't even know if you can lay responsibility at the feet of any one person or commission, group of commissioners. It's just been going on. It's been perpetuated. And now we, as a team here, the staff and the new commission, we have a prime opportunity, as I see it, right now, to show the community that we're taking this seriously and we're going forward. Might not agree with everything you guys direct me to do, but when a motion's carried or a resolution's made, I don't really have a choice. I'm going to do it. But what I'm going to do to help you make those decisions is bring you data that matters when I can, so that now we make decisions, right, wrong, or indifferent. At least we made it from something that was more empirical than, the wind's blowing out of the west, let's go with it today, type of approach. That's what I'm trying to do this year. And it's going to take, and I said this during the interview process to the three commissioners at this end of the table, this isn't going to change in 1 or 2 years. This is probably a 3-year evolution. But I believe that at the end of this year, 2016, we will see movement in the right direction. How much that is will depend on how disciplined we are at doing what we do. That's what my goal is to make this place work so that we get positive impressions by the people out there. Although I don't get that many negative ones. Maybe you guys hear differently. But we do have a levy next year, and if we don't have the ability to show them that we're making good decisions here, the levy is going to be extremely difficult to get through if we get it through at all. So that's.
Commissioner Hoffman, I'm going to go back this way here.
I think that's correct, and this is to the board members that have been around through budgets in the past as well. Legally, do we have any option other than to approve the budget as spent?
Can I? This is not a budget approval. There's nothing to do here.
All right.
This is a recap.
Cool.
But we do have to, by law, we have to approve the budget.
Show me. Show me.
I can't right now.
There's nothing. I've talked to county.
Okay.
There's nothing. I've talked to county. Well, they said that's between you and your commission.
Okay,
we don't
then
report this to anyone.
then I would like to see us.
I've read the same RCW.
Oh, there's-
Absolutely.
If you read the RCW, that's fine. If you want to make a I'll sit there, let the motion be made, and it's time to approve it, then we'll sit there, and the only thing I ask next time is, let's get the RCW and put it up, so that way we're all, staying within the law that we want to do. So, you get any further questions on this?
I just recall reading that as Wendy Singleton does as well, and I don't have the RCW off the top of my head either.
That's fine, but like I said, we'll go with the motion and stuff, I'm fine with that. So that way, it's all covered, either way.
Anytime expenses are more or different, revenue can go up, but when expenses are more than they were, it has to be voted on for approval. May not have to be reported to county, but we have to approve it.
Any other statements?
Actually, yes. So that is, so it is, the RCW does state, and I would say let's put it on the agenda for the regular meeting. It does state that when revenue shows a shortfall outside of the budget, that requires basically us to identify what revenue, or either amend our budget or identify what sources that revenue is coming from. It also requires that when we exceed, that we as a board vote on it. And I have brought that up several times in meetings. I know that I have, because it's concerning to me that I couldn't understand how we could have items that are 300% of budget and we didn't. One thing that I heard was that, I'm just going to be frank, because I don't believe that there's any reason to be anything else, but there were lots of cutbacks being made. I think it would do wonders for not only the board, but the public. I'm unaware of any cutbacks that were made. And I mean that sincerely, other than ones that we dictated here by doing things like eliminating positions. I think it would be a wonderful source of communication for that to us, saying, here are the things we're doing to cut expenses. I think that proactive communication, do I believe that it happened? I do. We just don't know what it was. I could not name one thing. And I think we should know that, because I also, as an advocate for this district, and I do believe this is budget related, so I'm not trying to get off topic, but as an advocate for this district, I would like to, if someone comes to me and has a question about it, I would love to be able to say, you know what, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Perhaps we can say, you know what, it's nobody's business, or let them, send them to the executive director. But I'm an advocate for this district. I signed on to be an advocate. That's part of this position. And I can only do that effectively if I'm informed. So again, we can't readdress that, but I would say moving forward, if we're doing active things to save money, to grow the district, I would love to know what those are, because I will be the first cheerleader out there. Absolutely. So that's, just in terms of that. I did have another point, sorry, and I lost it already. Sorry, I don't remember. I didn't take good enough notes
So,
for myself.
the record did contact the state auditor, and we do not have to tell them
No,
that we overspent.
I contacted county where we send our budget, and I asked them, what do we have to do in this case to report anything? And she said, that's between you and your commission.
I would also contact the state auditor. They're the ones who do that every 2-year auditing of us, and have found us at fault in a couple of times for doing things. So it's just better to just call them up, say, we overspent our budget by more than $9,000. Do we need to tell you about that? Because other things that have come up there were some cashier problems on it, which we didn't tell them, and they dinged us for it. So just to be safe, call up the state auditor. It doesn't take long, and verify that we don't have to.
Okay.
Are they still having issues?
That's what I was asking.
Oh, God.
Yes,
Anybody
they
know
are.
Troy Kelly?
They are.
Took me a minute to realize. Took me a minute to realize what you said there. Still having problems with the state auditor, yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that doesn't excuse us from anything.
Absolutely true. What it's done is it's prevented them from getting around to auditing us. And weren't we due this last year?
We're
Yeah.
overdue.
So we're overdue for an
But
audit.
they have,
Yeah, let's not get caught with this one.
they got some weird stuff
Agreed.
going on in their office.
Okay, real quick. Is there any other questions dealing with the budget? If not, what do we want to do? Do we want to make a motion to approve this here? Do we want to wait till next
I
meeting?
want some clarification.
But I need something, or otherwise, we're not gonna do any action on it. We'll put it on the next meeting.
I'd like to see it on the regular meeting agenda. I mean, I think
You
it'll give
want to make a
time
motion
to.
for that?
We don't really need one.
Okay.
We don't really need one, I don't think.
We'll table it for the next meeting.
Who's going to look into this, is what I want to know.
I will.
The executive director.
All right, thank you.
Action item was clear.
That's what Mayor Bruce told me my job was.
Okay, so then you'll get back to us with what the
I asked
clarification
you,
and the proof and so forth.
real quick.
Okay, no.
I asked you one thing, as far as the RCW.
Yeah.
If you could find that, please, I'd greatly appreciate that to
Yes,
bring it.
I will.
Because even if the state auditor says no, the RCW
I
says.
sent it to all the commissioners
No,
last year.
The state auditor's not
I did.
approving the
Would it take
budget,
hard to
it's just
rescind that?
notifying them that you have a budget.
If you've got it handy, that's fine.
Yep.
I just, when we get that.
So I'm clarifying, we're not contacting the auditor to ask whether we have to approve the budget change. We're contacting to notify him that we did have a deficit, and does he need to know about that?
That's right.
Or, I think it's she in this case.
And you had one thing.
Yes,
That's the official notification, and he can't get us in the end.
the one thing that I did want to mention that I thought was a really interesting point, that Sheila Kreider, the county auditor, had mentioned to us when Commissioner Hawley and myself went to get sworn in. And the way that she put it was something that I had not fully internalized, and I'm mentioning it for the benefit of everyone who's currently in the room. She said, you have, by law, you have an obligation to maintain these facilities. These are public facilities, and it is your obligation to maintain them. It is not. To me, it was. I've always felt that obligation, but that it is our legal obligation to do so. And that was just made it perhaps a couple degrees more grave to me personally. So I wanted to share that with everyone in case you had not heard it in those terms. That was all. Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Commissioner Fort made the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Hoffmeyer seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Motion passes.
Thank you guys. Have a nice
Thanks everybody for coming.
See you.
Thanks.